What's up, everybody? It's your boy KG. We got episode 19 of Free Knowledge Podcast. I want to thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and click the share button to share with your family and friends and also on your social media. Again, like I said, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. This episode is entitled Everything Happens for a Reason. And before I even go into it and give you guys the background, I want you guys to kind of participate with me and put some comments in below. Just tell me if you ever experienced a time when you knew that God was in the midst of what was going on, whether it was an interaction with a person or something that occurred in your life that was like, wow, this is a coincidence, or this happened and you knew that it was God that basically orchestrated that situation that happened in your life, and you got from that situation like, wow, that was God. So take the time to just put something like that in the comments. And because, as we stated, the name of this podcast episode is Everything Happens for a Reason. With you putting your comment in, you never know, someone can be coming here, and by you putting down your truth and what happened in your life, that can be a trigger for somebody else to where God had brought them to this channel to hear this information. And then you writing down, doing what you're supposed to do, is that like everything comes together. So let's see how that all plays out. And I'll even go and put my something in there. Well, no, actually, I'll talk about it with you guys on here about it. But you guys leave your comments and do that for me. Let's see what we get back from it, and I'll appreciate that. And like I said, so everything happens for a reason. So just to kind of give a little bit of background on this, I feel like we all have those moments in life where it's like, wow, what's the coincidence of that? What's the chances of this happening? And a lot of times we overlook that, and I think we dumb down um, God's ability to show us that He's still working miracles, that He's still doing different things in our life, doing different things in our life every single day. And I think that's where we have to take those moments to realize, like everything truly does happen for a reason. Like there's no coincidence to the different things that are occurring in our lives when we wake up every morning, the people that we interact with. It's all for a reason. And we'll kind of dive in a little bit deeper of why everything happens for a reason, and the things that we should focus on throughout our days with the different situations and circumstances that we go through to make sure that we're getting the full lens of what God is really doing. We'll never truly understand everything because there's things that happen in our lives. I can attest to for myself, and I'm pretty sure you guys have went through things as well where you just don't understand. You don't have the answers of why these things happen. But the good news is that, at the end, when it's all said and done, we'll have a true understanding of everything that occurred, on our time here on Earth. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing that I kind of want to dive into is that when we're looking at situation, we're thinking like, wow, everything happens for a reason. The one thing that we have to focus on when we're going through those different circumstances or situations is to have an understanding that we have to look beyond the surface of every interaction. Sometimes we can go through life and just kind of go through the motions of things. Like there's some people who wake up every morning and they might go to Starbucks, go to the same gas station, see the same people. You interact with these people and you think like, oh, they're just, work at the local gas station and work at the local coffee shop that I go to, or the local deli place where I go get meat and things like that. But in all actuality, it's a reason, it's a purpose for you to connect, to talk with that person. Like God doesn't work that way in small things where it's like, oh yeah, you're just supposed to walk past this person, and they're supposed to serve you every day, and nothing's supposed to happen beyond this interaction of you getting a coffee, you getting food, you going to the dry cleaner, wherever it may be. There's something deeper beyond that surface level that we have to take the time to notice and take the time to have that conversation. And I can give you an example of that. Like recently, I went to the bank and I was talking with, a person at the bank, and we're having a conversation going back and forth. And we were just talking about life. Like we're just having a deep conversation. We didn't know each other beyond that first moment, but because I've had the experience of knowing that, things don't just happen for a reason, that I like try to dive deep into the conversation to figure out more about this person, to see what I can get from this interaction, to make sure that I'm taking everything meant for me from me and also for that other person through this interaction. So as we keep having a conversation, we're talking, and we get on the conversation of what we talked about like 2 episodes ago on a podcast about, working at your job and, having them pay for you to get your education for free. So we got in that conversation and we just started talking about that. And then we started talking about, strategizing in the workplace, strategizing in your life. And, we just started talking about all these core values of life, and it ended up becoming a great conversation. And I left the conversation with information. She left the conversation with information. And it was a great interaction. And I think that oftentimes we'll just go into the interaction like, if I would have went in there and said, hey, you're going to handle this stuff for me with my bank account, and she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna handle this stuff, and we just keep it strictly business, black and white, we'd have been out of there in maybe 20-30 minutes. But because the conversation went beyond what we were doing, it made the experience better for both sides, for the customer as well as her helping me out as an employee of the bank. But then we also got a life experience out of it, where I don't know what transpired in her life after our conversation, but what I can say is that after that conversation, I was able to come home and tell my wife, like, hey, this is what the conversation was. And then even more, me talking about it with you guys on this podcast. So make sure that we're keeping that in mind, to always look beyond the surface level of every interaction that we have, because it's a purpose, it's a reason behind it. And the second thing that I want to talk to you guys about is to make the most of every situation. And that kind of is a perfect segue to what we're talking about with the first point, is that when you make the most of every situation, because now you're looking at it not from a surface level, you're looking at it deeper, like, how can I impact this person's life? And one thing that I always think about is like, it when I get to the point of like, when earth is no longer here and I'm in heaven, and I'm like, I want to see this person like that I interacted with, that I didn't just walk past, and I see them in heaven, and we see each other and be like, oh man, like, yo, I remember you, I walked past you at Macy's and we had a conversation. And like, I know that might sound crazy to some people, but for me, that's what I live for. And it's funny because I'm laughing about it, because my wife, she literally would tell me to stop talking, because I'll talk to a lot of people, like, because I look at this, how I'm talking to you guys right now, I try to make the most of every situation, because I don't want somebody to go past me, or me going past somebody, overlooking somebody, and not having that conversation, because it's also said in the Bible, like, you might be entertaining an angel. You might be walking past that person thinking like, wow, this person is homeless, or this person looks completely different from me, and you're looking down on them rather than looking eye to eye with them, and then realizing like, okay, how can I help this person? What can I get from this person? What can I give this person? Like, it's a two-way street, because sometimes you think this person just wants something from you, but you can get some wisdom from that person. So I always go through life with that same mindset, to make sure like, okay, I want to make the most of every situation, every interaction, because it's not a mistake. It's not a coincidence. It's not like, oh, what's the odds of this happening? No, like, you stopped at that stop sign and you seen that homeless person to your left, and you didn't look at him, and you kept looking straight forward. Like, that was for a purpose. Like, you were supposed to, take advantage of saying, hey, how can I help this person? And some people look at that and say, hey, you know what? Maybe that person can get a job. They can work just like I do. But at the end of the day, it's all how you look at it. Like, maybe you say, hey, I don't want to give them money because I want to support the habit, but maybe you get them food. Maybe you say, hey, you know what? It's a burger place right up the street. Let me go get them a sandwich, some French fries, and a drink. At least let them have a drink. Or maybe I give them a cover. Maybe I give them some socks, a toothbrush, soap, whatever it may be in that moment. However God speaks to you, because again, everything has for a reason. So we have to make sure we're making the most of every situation, and not just in situations of that magnitude, but also you might be at work and you have an opportunity. And I know this is probably pre-COVID, but say you're at work and you happen to go to the water cooler and you see a boss from your desired department, and you see him and you're like, okay, what do I say? But that might be the opportunity where you're supposed to say, hey, how's it going? I would love to be a part of your department. Is there a way that I can get on your calendar so we can have a conversation about it? And like, because sometimes you're scared to take that opportunity, you might just look at it and just say, hello, hey, how's it going? Hope you have a great day. And you go back to your desk, he goes back to his desk. But sometimes even in those moments, you have to make the most of every situation. When you have opportunity to make an impact on your life or on the lives of others, we have to take advantage of that. So the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is that and this goes back to basically the title of that everything happens for a reason is that in Romans 8:28 it says that everything happens for a reason. Um, Everything happens for the good of those who love the Lord, and I know that that's something that I've always landed on in my life. That's something that's always been poured into me and my siblings growing up, from my grandparents and parents, is that, one, everything happens for a reason, but then knowing the true foundation of it. If you haven't had the opportunity to read, Romans 8:28, take the opportunity to read the full chapter, not just read, just 8:28, but have a full understanding to get a full scope of what's going on. But then also too, just to understand that it gives you a better understanding that God just doesn't work in ways like, oh, I just want you to go to this gas station, oh, I want your car to break down over on this street, and some person comes helps you. Like, no, that's not a coincidence. Like, stuff happens for a reason, and you have to look beyond those moments to realize, like, okay, wow, this is God working, this is God having his hand on my life, whether it's good or it's bad. Just know that it all happens and it comes together for our good. And you might be thinking, like, what, like, how can something bad help me out? For example, you can go through a bad breakup, or you can experience a bad relationship, and you go through that experience, and what happens on the back end is that you're hurt in that current moment. You're like, wow, I thought I was gonna be this person for the rest of my life. But then what happens is that you become stronger, you become more wiser, your eyes open up, your ears open up to the red flags, you start noticing those things, and now you go to a point where you're in that next relationship, you're like, oh, that's a red flag, oh, I see that, I'm not going to do that. And now you become wiser, you become stronger. So you have to look at it and have a mindset of that you want to grow, that you want to, truly look at it from a different lens of the things that you go through in your life every single day. And when you do those things, you'll start to see the positive and the light out of every situation. And that's something that I take through my life daily. I always have an optimistic outlook on things, like, even if it's bad, not saying you don't cry, not saying you don't go through, moments where you might be pouting or you might be down and out, but you want a majority of the time you want to have that optimistic outlook to say, you know what, like, wow, that happened, I didn't want that to happen, but you know what, I'm gonna lick my wounds, and I'm gonna get up, and I'm gonna keep going forward, and everything else is gonna fall into place the way it needs to. And I know I'm just speaking for myself, but this could be encouragement to you guys, is that if you just keep that mindset and you just press forward, everything else will fall into place, and you'll get to a later point in your life, and you'll look back and you say, why was I even worrying about that? Or why was I even paying attention to that? Why was I even letting that bog down my mind? Because you're so far ahead of it now, and you able to look back. And that's the beauty of being able to look back, and you can reflect on it and see, like, where were you mentally, where were you spiritually, where were you emotionally, and then you can look, you can feel and understand where you are in that current day and say, why was I in that place? But that's all from a process of our growth. We go through different things, highs and lows of life, so we're better off in the future. So I want to leave you guys with that, and we'll do just a quick recap of the different takeaways that we talked about in this episode, entitled Everything Happens for a Reason. So the first thing that we want to make sure that we do is that we're looking beyond the surface of every interaction. So don't look at it just surface level, dig deep, make sure that you're connecting with the people that you're having those interactions with daily, and different things that are happening in your life. Secondly, make the most of every situation. If there's a way for you to make an impact in someone else's life, or a way for you to interact with somebody and they might impact your life, make sure that you always take that step forward to do it, because those are things that have a trickle effect. Again, like how I'm able to come on here and talk to you guys about my interaction at the bank. It just continues to go. It's just a positive thing that just flows, and everybody, that energy, that vibe is just bouncing from wall to wall, and everybody's passing that along. So if there's a way for you to make an impact, or you to have a conversation or interaction to allow somebody to make an impact on your life, go for it. The last thing is that we know everything happens for a reason, because we know that that's in the word. That's what God is telling us. And again, like I said, make sure that you read the full thing for full context, Romans 8:28. But it'll give you that reassurance that the things that we go through, it's not coincidental. It's not like, oh, this is just, oh, this, what's the odds? Like, no, it's already written. Our lives are already been written. The things that we're gonna do, things that we're gonna fail, things that we're gonna conquer. It's already there. So you have to have that biblical understanding to know what's exactly truly going on in the world that we're living in, because it'll save you from a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, and also humble us to understand like the things that we do that are great is not us, it's God that's inside of us. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this podcast episode. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share with your family and friends, and also on social media. And don't forget, leave your comments. I know that you guys went through interactions where you've experienced God in those moments where He spoke to you. And maybe from listening to this conversation, it might be something that God brought you here, and something that I said has triggered you to say, wow, I needed that. That's what I was going through last week. Whatever it may be, leave your comments below, and let's start up this conversation, and let's impact other people's life who are scrolling through, listening to this, and might see your words and you impact their lives. So I appreciate you guys. Tune in for another episode. Love is love. Peace.